Here we are, the candle of joy. And so, let's look at John chapter 15. Verse 11. I'm going to pray, and then I'll read these verses. God, thanks for just today. Thanks for the joy of the Lord. Thanks for the hope that we have in you. Thank you for the love that you pour into our lives over and over. And this morning, God, as we study together, help us to remember that your word is true. That the Bible is 100% true, and that the world needs Jesus. And so help us to spread the joy of the Lord today. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, John chapter 15, verse 11 says this: "These things have I spoken to you, that my joy may remain in you, and that your joy may be full." The song. "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends. You are my friends if you do whatever I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not know what his master is doing, but I have called you friends, for all things that I heard from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give you. These things I command you, that you love one another." So in January, we're going to go on this 8-month journey through the book of John. We'll cover the entire book in 34 weeks-ish. And we're going to just dive in deeply, and we're going to discover what Jesus had spoken. "These things I have spoken to you, that you may love one another." But I want to just kind of give you a few highlights. If you have a red letter edition of the Bible, which this one happens to be, you would find, if you turn back a few pages to the end of chapter 12, you'll see that Jesus really kind of has these 2.5, 3 chapters of just a monologue. He's instructing, and you would see some highlights. Here are just some of the highlights in these chapters. "Whoever believes in me may not remain in darkness. If I do not wash you, you have no part with me. All people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. Let not your hearts be troubled. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. I will not leave you as orphans. The Holy Spirit will teach you all things. Apart from me, you can do nothing. These things have I spoken to you, that you may love me and love one another." And Jesus' words actually continue into chapter 16 and chapter 17, and we'll dig into all of those things later. But everything Jesus speaks into our lives is for whose glory? His. And that our joy, his joy, will remain in us fully. So let's rewind the clock here to the year 2000. I was a very young, fresh rookie youth pastor going on my first middle school winter retreat ever. And I remember one kid named Tony. Tony was a riot. He was so much fun, but he was such a troubled kid at the same time. But he was so much fun. So Friday afternoon after school, Tony arrives at church with his girlfriend. They were both going on this retreat. I was a little nervous about this. They were both going on the retreat, and I remember the girl was so excited because she got to spend the whole weekend with Tony. No parents around, none of that. Little did they know I'm probably actually more strict than parents. And I remember this girl was so excited, and then Saturday came. Saturday morning, I saw Tony talking to this other girl from another church. He was convinced this girl was going to make him so much happier than the girl from Friday. And they were walking around and trying to hold hands even though they're on this church retreat, and big smile on his face like life has just ended. And he melted at everything she said, followed her around like a little puppy. I've arrived, this 8th grader says. It was the perfect situation. And then Sunday came. At breakfast, I saw Tony sitting with a different girl. Same story. Same story. You can see where this goes. And then Tony came to church a week and a half later and said, I'm back with, the first girl is my girlfriend again. I probably should have not left her in the first place because she's the obvious choice of where I'm going to be the most happy. The wisdom of a middle schooler, right? When we begin to allow our joy to weaken, or when we begin looking for joy in different places than what God has given to us, we're just like Tony. New cars, new clothes, new houses, new toys, new electronics, new whatever it is, in the world of very easy divorces, new wife, new family, new all of it. They're the perfect thing. We melt right where we are, and then in some cases the bill comes. It's not so much the perfect thing anymore. Or we wake up and there is a regret. Or there is a, what did I just do? And the perfect situation is no longer the perfect situation, and we go on this search of finding the perfect situation. We're just like Tony. Unless the joy of the Lord remains in us fully. There might still be bills, but the joy of the Lord remains in us fully, and the bills become a little more manageable because now we're not searching for those things that we can't pay for. When we're in the joy of the Lord, there are no regrets. There are no thoughts of, what did I just do? There is just an opportunity to give God glory, which should be what we wake up to seek anyway. Unfortunately, we're human, and we seek to give ourselves glory more often than we give God glory. And sometimes we even, I'm going to give God glory on the side of me getting glory, which might be the nice Christian thing to do in America. And so this morning I really want to just look at this question. It's not coming. There it is. So here's the question. What does life look like when the joy of the Lord remains in us fully? As we go about our life, if verse 11 says, "These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may remain in you, and that your joy may be full." What does that look like? Why the candle matters? I mean, we're on this search. As America, we're on this search for happiness. We have to be bigger and better than the next country that could squash us if they really wanted to. And we often get happiness and joy confused. But I want to remind you, before we even go any further, you can be happy and not joyful. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and it goes on. You can be happy and not have joy. If you're joyful, you will be happy. There will be some days you're not, because life gets in the way. Life throws us a curveball. Those curveballs don't have to steal our joy. And so, what does it look like when the joy of the Lord remains fully in our lives? Let's look. I think these verses give us three qualities of the joyful believer. Here's the first one, verse 12. "This is my commandment, that you love one another just as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends." In Mark chapter 12, Jesus was, in case maybe you don't read your Bible, and maybe you don't know, the Pharisees really tried to corner Jesus all the time and make him look silly. And so Mark 12 is one of those situations where we're trying to make Jesus look silly, and they asked him, of all the 900 and some laws in the Old Testament, if I skip any, which two should I not skip? Which ones are going to make me remain close with God more so than the others? If I only follow two rules, which ones do I have to follow? I don't know about you, but I have trouble following more than one thing at a time. Anyone? Give me one step. I'll just do one step. When I put something together, I actually follow the rules. I have the instructions out, and I do it because I don't jump the gun. I have to do one thing at a time. And so they asked Jesus, what are the most important things? And he says this. You might know these. He gives the answer. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entirety of the Old Testament is wrapped up in those two statements. Everything in the Old Testament points to love God with everything you have, love your neighbor as much as you love the person you see in the mirror. And then he goes on to describe what our neighbor is. It's more than just the people that live next to us in a house. It's clear that Jesus thinks loving other people is a top priority. And I wrote, you can see this, the joyful believer cherishes other people, because I think this particular, a couple weeks ago we talked about love, and there are multiple definitions of love in the New Testament. This one, we as Americans pronounce it incorrectly, but we pronounce it as agape love. And one of the definitions of it is cherish. And so here in this verse, the joyful believer cherishes other people. Cherishes. So think about what that looks like, the things that you cherish. There will be gifts under your Christmas tree this year that you cherish. It'll be a while before you let anyone else use them. That might be a couple hours. It might be a week. It might be a month. When you turn 16 and you get your driver's license for the first time, you think you've arrived and you cherish the moment. You always remember it. You never forget it. Your wedding day, your anniversary, hopefully, your birthday, where you were, who you graduated college with. There are things in life that we cherish, that we never forget. There is always room in our brain for them. And this verse says the joyful believer cherishes other people. So here are some ways that I think are opportunities for us to cherish other people. The joyful believer cherishes opportunity to put other people first. In a world where it is all about my agenda, my wants, my trends, my desires, if it feels good, do it. It might be good for you, but it might not be good for me, so just go ahead and be the best version of you that you possibly can be. Just saying it makes me sick. Look for opportunities to put other people first. Which might mean you keep your mouth shut for a little while. Anyone struggle? I'm not the only one. I've learned I'm better than I was at 27 than I am at 47, but there are times. The joyful believer cherishes opportunity to put other people first. You always have it in your brain. There's always room in your mind to look for opportunities to put other people first. Here's another one. The joyful believer creates space for other people to safely experiment. So this, maybe you have people that, maybe you live in a house with somebody else that doesn't quite have everything figured out yet. Or your grandkids come over and they don't have everything figured out yet. And they're struggling through life a little bit, trying to figure out what that looks like. Or you have a coworker that just seems like they are French fries short of a Happy Meal. Nobody that I work with is short of anything. Do we create space for other people to experiment safely, process safely, have doubts safely, question things safely? None of us have it all figured out. None of us are perfect. None of us know everything. None of us are that smart that we know everything. If we were, we would be the author of this book. None of us. Here's another one. The joyful person doesn't have to be the only person that has the right answer. If I cherish other people, I don't have to be the last one to speak in the conversation. I don't have to be right, even though I might be right. I can leave room for other people to be right. The joyful believer prioritizes time with other people. You make it your mission. If you cherish other people, you want to be around other people. And you can do that. Just drop Christmas cookies off at someone's front door. A little note. Give a random act of kindness. Pay for the vehicle behind you in the drive-thru, which is always a gamble. I'll just tell you, every time I do this, I end up with like the family of 6 kids ordering their dinner, and I'm like, I can't talk about it unless I do it. And it's always like, really? Those people have a $50 bill? At a drive-thru? But they probably needed it. Yeah. You know, if we cherish other people, then, you know, $5 gift cards in mailboxes go a long way. You never know. Years ago, I would do we called it a rake and run. So we would just get everyone together in our church, and we would scatter throughout the community, and we would just drive around. And And if we saw a lawn that needed to be raked, we would stop and we would rake it. And I remember one guy coming out of his front door, and he's in tears. And he said, my wife was just put on permanent disability this week, and I had major heart surgery 2 weeks ago. I had no clue how I was going to get my yard cleaned up. You have no clue the opportunities that God will give you if we just take the time to cherish other people. We spread the joy in little tiny ways. Say thank you to the cashier. Be nice to him or her. That would actually go a long, long way right now. Here's another one. The joyful believer places his agenda aside for the sake of another person. We can just set ourselves aside for a little bit. There's a guy who's a pastor in Washington, D.C. His name is Mark Batterson. He wrote a book named the Prayer Circle. And our family went on vacation to Washington, D.C., and education is what our kids called it. Their favorite trip of all of our vacations in 2015, and we went to this church for a Saturday night church service, and he was talking about self-control. I don't remember anything about the church service except he said this: self-control is making decisions against yourself. That's all that I remember about the church service. Self-control is making decisions against yourself. The joyful believer cherishing other people provides lots of opportunities to make decisions against ourselves. So I want to just throw this question out to you. I already alluded to it. Do you cherish other people as much as you cherish the person in the mirror? Many days, the answer is no, which means we have room for improvement. Some days I don't even cherish the people I live with as much as the person in the mirror, let's be honest. Here's the second quality. Verse 14 says this: you are my friends if you do whatever I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not know what his master is doing, but I have called you friends, for all things that I have heard from my Father I have made known to you. The joyful believer digests God's word. If you ever get sick of me telling you to read your Bible, get used to it, because I will always tell you, read your Bible. It is the lifeline for our discipleship. If we ever not value our Bible, we're just a country club and we might as well close. So, here is a question you all know the answer. All of you. How has Jesus revealed to us what he has heard from the Father? I'll give you a hint. Say it out loud. The Bible, the Scriptures, the Word of God. So let's talk about the Bible for a minute. This is my nerd session. Bear with me. If you don't like data, just bear with me just for a minute. In 2013, which is a little old, in 2013, the average household in America owned 4.7 Bibles. Average. That's including the Muslims and the atheists. And every house in America, the average is 4.7. In the last 200 years, 5 billion Bibles have been printed. 5 billion. The Guinness World Records believes 80 million Bibles are printed every year. Now they have a parenthetical statement of, we have no clue how many times the Bible is downloaded and read. These are just print. According to Fox Business, number 2 on the list, so just think about this for a minute, 80 million copies printed a year. Here's number 2. Number 2 on the list is a fictional novel called Don Quixote, printed hundreds of years ago, and it has sold 500 million copies. In hundreds of years, 500 million. So let's fast forward. Number 3 on the list is the first Harry Potter book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Anyone read it? A few of us. Okay. That book, which there was this Harry Potter craze in our country for a long time, about the same time as Lord of the Rings. That book sold 120 million copies. Number 3 on the list, Harry Potter, 120 million. Number 1 on the list, 80 million copies a year. That Harry Potter book was written, I think it said, in 1997. So in 25 years, 120 million versus 80 million a year. Just kind of wrap your brain around that a little bit. That actually overwhelms me a little bit with the Bible. To the fact that I wrote this next statement, the Bible. I'm going to just make this observation that the Bible is the most available book on the planet, but the most neglected book on the planet. Most available, most neglected. Consistently over the last 20 years, Barna Research Group has done this. They have tracked how many people actually claim to read their Bible with any form of consistency, and they have said, true over the last 20 years, only 9 to 11% of evangelical Christians claim to read their Bible every day. So an evangelical Christian is a person that believes this is 100% true Word of God. Jesus is the only way to heaven. There is a real heaven. There is a real hell. Jesus paid for my sins, and I cannot earn eternal life any other way. That group, that's us, only 10% of us read our Bible every day. And so I'll say to you, the joyful believer digests God's word, and if maybe you're having a joy issue in your life, you might have left the source. You might actually be like Tony more than you think you are. You keep searching when it's right in front of you. If you're the 90%, let me just say to you, your discipleship matters deeply. What you do with this book matters deeply. How you accept or neglect this book matters deeply, more than just the fact that you're in your Bible. Your source, it would be like that light bulb right there. Every now and then it works, but it doesn't always work. And when we want to be a joyful believer, but we don't get in the Word of God, we're like that light bulb. And people watching online right now can't see it. And there are moments when we are more like Tony than what we realize we're like Tony. Here's the third one. The joyful believer distributes fruit that never spoils. Verse 16 says this, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give you. These things I command you, that you love one another." We have been appointed to go. And really, when you read the word go in the New Testament, it means as you go. While you are doing life, in the normal circle of your influence, while you are driving in traffic on your way to Tecumseh High School and wonder why you are currently in that line. When you're at the grocery store, when you are at the coffee shop, when you're at the gas station, when you are at the mall buying Christmas gifts, whatever you're doing, you are going. And this verse tells us, while you are going, bear fruit. Bear fruit. So 2 weeks ago, I was digging through. I love oranges. I love fresh oranges, not the little I don't know what the not the little they're Clement to the cuties. That's the word. Not those, real oranges. My family thinks I'm nuts for more than one reason. So I get into the refrigerator and my oldest, gotta love the kid. So I open the refrigerator because I'm going in the refrigerator to get an orange, and I open the drawer and I start digging into the back of the back of the produce drawer where nobody ever goes, and I found what I think was a lemon. And I took it out, and Bridget said, "No, that's a lime." And I said, "I don't think it matters at this point." And I threw it in the trash, and that reminded me, sometimes we are produce, we are fruit, we bear fruit that you can't tell what it is. When we should be more like, this says, bear fruit that never spoils. And I wrote earlier this week in a little teaser that maybe you didn't know what it was a teaser. We should be the produce section of our neighborhood, always offering fresh fruit that nourishes other people. That as we go about life, we're the produce section. We're the produce section. You go, if you need an orange and you run out of oranges, you go to your favorite grocery store because you know that's where oranges are. Unless you happen to be in Florida, then you go find a farmer. You go where the fresh fruit is because there is something about fresh fruit even that canned fruit doesn't provide. There's fresh fruit, and we're supposed to be that fruit in our neighborhood, in our community, in our workplace, in our school, on our college campus, in our sports teams, everywhere. We're supposed to be refreshing fruit, nourishing fruit, influential fruit, life-changing fruit, fruit that people will miss if they don't have it. There are people out there that are craving the fruit of Jesus and they don't know it. And they're waiting for someone to come and tell them. So what does life look like when the joy of the Lord remains in us fully? It looks like a person that cherishes other people. It looks like a person that digests and values the Word of God because that's our life source. It looks like a person that bears fruit. And your fruit might look, you might be an apple, and you might be a pear, and you might be an orange, and you might be a banana. But you know what? It's still fruit. And it's still it still provides something that a box of cereal won't provide. The fresh nourishment of fruit. And so, as you are a joyful believer, as we celebrate this candle, I want to prod you to just consider: do you cherish other people? Do you strive to digest God's word? And are you bearing fruit? Now, I know when I talk about reading the Bible, I know people aren't perfect, and there are some days you skip. So are you striving? Are you striving to digest the word of God? You skip meals sometimes too. Are you striving? Is your trajectory of life one that looks to bear the fruit that God has put in your life to spill out into the lives of other people? Does your joy spill out? So here's my final question for you. My final question. You might never remember this kid. You will never meet him, I'm certain. You might never forget him, though. Are you like Tony? Do you make room for the next best thing to grab your attention instead of just sticking with the thing that was working? Christmas is a beautiful opportunity to have the candles of hope and love and joy and peace shine brightly in your own life. Bear fruit, my friends. Let's pray. Let's pray together, and then we're going to sing a song.